Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's sports podcast. It's Friday, the 26th of March 2021, just before lunchtime. And this week's update may be a little bit briefer than the previous ones, simply because of the fact that we're on the international break in the world of football, so there's maybe a little bit less to talk about. But we will start by talking about the international football matches. Last night saw England comfortably beat San Marino 5-0 in their first qualification game for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. It was good to see Ollie Watkins as a Villa fan to see him score on his debut to come on and score his only shot so far. He's got a 100% success rate. Maybe England lacked a little bit of intensity in the second half with probably making too many changes and the fact that the opposition weren't of the highest quality. Although the San Marino goalkeeper did make some really good saves, so fair play to him. He did really well. Um, so that's a good start for England, really. The exciting game seemed to be the game between Hungary and Poland in the same group as England, which finished 3-all. I think Hungary were ahead twice, 2-0 and 3-2, but Robert Lewandowski scored a late equaliser to get a point for Poland. And the other game was involved Albania, and who England play on Sunday in Albania. There was some doubt about whether that game would go ahead or not due to some policing issues, but it's been confirmed that game will now go ahead. So that's England's second qualifying game on Sunday, and then they play at Wembley on Wednesday against Poland, which will be an interesting match now that some of the restrictions on travel have been lifted. So Poland, I think, will have majority of their squad. There was some doubt about some of the players being involved. Whether Matthias Klich, the Leeds player, is involved for Poland, I'm not sure. After he tested positive for COVID this week, I believe he's having a second test, and the results of that will determine whether or not he can actually be involved in either of the next two games for them. So we'll see how those develop. It's obviously very early stages. Looking at some of the results from around the other groups so far, there were a couple of surprises in the fact that Spain were held to a 1-all draw with Greece at home after conceding a penalty in the second half. So that was a 1-all. And I believe France drew with Ukraine 1-all as well. Sayumchuk scored an equaliser in the second half after Griezmann had scored a fantastic goal for France in the first half. So that was, like I say, 1-all again. Um, a good goal by John McGinn again. A Villa allegiance here. Fantastic overhead kick for him to rescue a point for Scotland against Austria last night. Made that 2-all in their group. Poor, disappointing result for Wales, I suppose. In the end, they took the lead against Belgium. Harry Wilson scored a really nice goal after about 10 minutes, but ended up losing 3-1. The Belgian team obviously got very high levels of quality amongst their players. Most of them you'll recognise from playing in the Premier League. And it was Kevin De Bruyne, surprise, surprise, who inspired the comeback and the eventual victory. Republic of Ireland were beaten 3-2 by Serbia after again taking the lead. Mitrovic scored twice for Serbia. He's been out of form this season, but he scored a couple of goals. A nice one where he chipped the keeper Travers, who looked to have come off his line too far. Maybe a lack of experience. I didn't even know who he was before that game, so maybe somebody else can enlighten me in the comments if you know anything about this Travers guy in goals. And Northern Ireland, we're always going to be up against it away to Italy. Two early first half goals, including one from Ciro Immobile. But they put up a good fight in the second half. But both Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland managers must fear for their jobs. I mean, it's difficult for them because they haven't got the depth of squad, the quality of player to call upon that some of the other international nations have. And Stephen Kenny and Ian Barraclough must feel that they're on borrowed time, perhaps. Both, I think, they've managed 9 games each, and neither of them won a game yet. But it's difficult for them with the players that they've got available. So the lack of quality is quite evident, really. But let's hope they can pick up in the next games. I think Wales play friendly actually the next round of games. I think Mexico, and the only reason I know that is because it's been mentioned that Raul Jimenez, the Wolves striker who had that terrible head injury against Arsenal a few months back, he's going to be training with the squad but not actually playing. But yeah, he's on the road to recovery now. So they're the forthcoming games in the World Cup qualifiers. So keep an eye out on those. And obviously the England games are on ITV, so they're on free to air, so you can watch the England games if you wish to do so. Moving away from the international scene means on TV this weekend you've got chance for some of the teams from the low leagues to shine. And Oxford and Lincoln are on Sky this evening, and tomorrow lunchtime I think it's Forest Green against Bolton Wanderers. So Kevin Fitzpatrick, your team's on. So I don't know if you're watching this, but good luck to Bolton in that game. And like I say, it's a chance for those teams to show what they're made of. And there's also a National League game. I think it's Maidenhead against Altrincham, 6:15 kick-off on the BT Sport 2 Saturday evening, Saturday tea time. Little later time than normal, but it's on, so if you want to watch that. Halifax Town fans, we are at home tomorrow against Sutton, the league leaders. Sutton, who are 4 points clear with 3 games in hand on the pursuing Hartlepool, and the other gang of teams or gaggle of teams are also chasing them. They find themselves in a good position to Sutton. We also find ourselves potentially in the same situation as Harrogate, in that if they do get into the Football League, they'll have to dig the plastic pitch up and put the grass one down. So good luck to them if they get in. But still fair way to go yet in this season, so anything could happen. Who knows? With regards to looking away from football now and looking at cricket, England are in the midst of the 3 ODI matches against India. They're currently halfway through the second ODI, having lost the first one fairly comfortably, and now we're struggling a little bit. They're up against it in the second one. They've conceded 326 for 6 or 336 for 6. I can't remember which one it was. In the first innings, they conceded over 100 runs in the last 10 overs. When Rishabh Pant gets to the crease, they're always going to be under attack, and KL Rahul hit 100 as well. So good batting skills from India, but not so good bowling from England, perhaps. Lacking leadership without Owen Morgan. Not saying Butler isn't up to it, but he's not the normal captain. My own opinion is that these 3 one-day internationals are just fulfilling contracts effectively. I don't think they're really up for it. England's focus seems to be purely on the T20 World Cup at the end of this year, and also the Ashes series. So I don't know, might be better off not playing these, but I think they have to play them as part of the ICC tours calendar. So there's no choice really. But they are struggling somewhat, and I don't think they're really that bothered about it, to be fair. So let's move on from there, shall we? There's not much more to say about that really, apart from India are probably going to win. Elsewhere in Test cricket, Sri Lanka eked out a draw. I should have said more likely the West Indies actually eked out a draw against Sri Lanka. The way the game started and the poor first innings performance by Sri Lanka, I think it scored 169. West Indies scored 271. You'd have put them in front, but Sri Lanka scored 476 in the second innings, and it ended up with Nkrumah Bonner having to hit a century for West Indies to let them see out the final day. I think they finished on something like 276 for 4, leading to a draw for that game. So might give Sri Lanka some heart, because they've been like lambs to the slaughter since they've been in the West Indies in most of the games they've played in whichever format. So maybe give them a bit of confidence. And another one-day international, which I watched a bit of last night before bed, New Zealand comfortably beat Bangladesh by 164 runs, I think it was, 154, 164 runs. And the New Zealand sensation Devon Conway scored a century for them. But there were lots of drop catches by Bangladesh, so they'll rue those, but the batting obviously wasn't up to scratch, as they fell comfortably short of the target they'd been set for them. This weekend also sees the start of Rugby Super League season, and we've got 2 games this evening, 2 games tomorrow, and 2 games on Sunday. All 6 games are being shown live on Sky. I looked at the matches, and there wasn't one that immediately jumped out at me. I think what they've done is probably on purpose when they build the fixtures is to make none of the big teams play each other this weekend, really. The highlight may be, for my opinion, Castleford against Warrington on Sunday afternoon, so that might be one to look forward to. Be interested to see how Leigh do now they've been reinstated to the Super League, whether they're actually going to be good enough. A lot of people probably feel that Leigh don't really merit being in the Super League. They got voted in, basically. Other people may feel that Featherstone would have been a better choice, or maybe Widnes, or even Toulouse, actually. So just let me know your opinion on those if you'd like in the comments below. The Challenge Cup also continues this weekend, and Saturday sees probably the highlight of the round, with Featherstone taking on Batley. I think that must be on TV, or maybe on BBC iPlayer or something like that. And we also have the culmination of, in Rugby Union now we're talking here, culmination of the Six Nations. France need to beat Scotland by 21 points or more and get the bonus point, I believe, to usurp Wales in winning the Six Nations title. Scotland's task has been made somewhat harder by the fact that they aren't able to call up on all the players who play in the English Premiership. I think they've only got 5, so the squad is weakened, which probably won't please Wales fans too much. But it'll be interesting to see if France can do it. It must strengthen their position with a Scotland team that isn't up to full strength, so might be one worth watching. That if you're a Rugby Union fan, sure there will be. Elsewhere, moving on to Speedway, And this week in Speedway, Swindon have said that it will definitely be returning to the Premiership next season after the stadium work is complete this summer. I know there's been a lot of delays in that, and I think there's been some, shall we say, skeptics out there who feel that this work will never get done, but they're confident of getting the building work started this summer, and the fact that the stadium will be available to be used again in 2022. So that's one to watch out for, whether they actually do go ahead and manage to compete again in 2022. Sheffield have stated how relieved they were to get the deal over the line to get Adam Ellis into their side to complete their team. It wasn't about money, they've said. It's more about the logistics of the fact that Adam lives in France because his family is partly French, and that's why he's based there, simply because it makes it easier for him logistically to get around Europe. He rides a lot on the continent as well, so it's probably a better base for him as well as for family reasons. This morning, Eric Riss has announced that he actually will be coming back to riding the Premiership for Kings Lynn this season after previously stating that he wouldn't be able to ride in Britain. He cited the fact that the coronavirus situation has eased somewhat in the UK, and he feels that there's a good chance that racing will take place, and so he's decided to not go and ride in Sweden and Denmark, and he's going to ride in England for Kings Lynn instead. So it strengthens their team somewhat and puts them in with a reasonable shout of being near the top of the league. Having said that, there's only 6 teams in the league, so it's going to be hard not to be near the top or the bottom of the league this season. The fact that there are only 6 teams is another is a subject for discussion elsewhere. So we'll leave that for now. In the stock car world, the fixture list for the season, Brisker Formula 1 season, was published last weekend, and there are a significant number of dates in there for Bradford, Odsal. The first one I mentioned previously is on Monday the 31st of May for the Formula 1s on 6 p.m. There's a banger meeting. The Stanwoods banger meeting is on the 22nd of May, so effectively that is the official opening meeting at the stadium. The World Final is in September on the 10th and 11th. The final itself takes place on Saturday 11th September. The venue's not been allowed, but the rumours are that it's likely to be at Odsal, but we'll see about that. There's going to be an announcement, I believe, on the 3rd of April to confirm that. There are several more meetings to be held there, so if you're a fan of Brisker Formula 1s, Formula 2s, V8 stock cars, national bangers or national mini stocks, you're going to be given a chance to see those throughout the season. I think there's also going to be featured events for Robin Reliance and a caravan race at some point. They're all been held there before, and there will be a Christmas meeting featuring the Formula 1s, the Formula 2s and national mini stocks on the 27th of December. So I'd like to go to that actually, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully weather won't be too inclement. It'll be probably already cold. Oddsal's cold at the best of times, so looking forward to that and wrapping up warm. So I think that's about all I want to say this week. On these weeks when there are international breaks, there may be space to talk about other sports topics or anything of interest that you want to talk about. So if you want to leave me comments either in YouTube or on Facebook, just let me know, and we can look at maybe expanding it so there's something of more of interest on these weeks when there's less to talk about. But I think for now that's about it. So until next week, have a good week, and I'll see you all then.